Alright, buddy. It's been a really fun time chasing you across this frozen armpit of a planet, but I'm gonna need you to hand over those credits. Oh, I bethink not so. Thee and thy big no more brain than stone companion may be stout, but I did complete the bounty first, so the prize is mineth. What did you just say to me? No. Perhaps this is not a wise engagement. 3 noble tenno ripping themselves to pieces over 5,000 credits. Enough out of you, Balboa. If we don't get that money, the SIRS is gonna foreclose our dojo. Besides, this dude plants grass, and he only uses swords and shields. What's he got on us? Clearly thou dost not own an air fryer. What? Fie. Observe and weep, Philistine. Come forth, Pridwen! How is that a sword and shield? Gods, thou really dost not get out much. This is the greatest sword and shield there is, but enough talk. Have at thee! Mechs. Giant robots. I dig giant robots. You dig giant robots. Chicks dig giant robots. I mean, who doesn't enjoy giant, mechanically unrealistic effigies of people beating the hell out of each other in a way completely devoid of any symbolism? Probably people with jobs, but I digress. Now, a common point of contention is whether Warframe itself fits into the mecha genre. I mean, we've got all the staples, right? War, political scheming, war, child soldiers, war, existential dread, war. But DE thankfully made that discussion obsolete in 2020 by adding actual mechs in the Heart of Deimos update. Necramechs were the third vehicle type added to Warframe after Arcwings and K-Drives. Am I a Warframe vehicle review channel now? Hello everyone, welcome back to Top Frame. Today we're looking at the newest vehicles brought into the Origin system. As you can see, Mag testing out the new Atomocycle and oh my god, holy shit! Unlike other vehicles which have the express purpose of go fast, the Necramech only walks. Now, I hear you say, but Zachmo, Warframe extraordinaire, I can already walk. This thing seems useless. Okay, well, first of all, why don't you walk for 30 minutes outside and get some exercise? Second, in addition to walk, Necramech is also capable of shoot and... Oh my god. They put this in the game, like 5 years ago? That's wild. And Necramechs are essentially weapons platforms that use your arc gun as a primary with infinite ammo. They also come with their own mods and abilities, which include some really, really beefy ultimates. Okay, what's the plan? His firepower greatly outmatches our own. We should retreat. Yeah, no chance, Dirt for Brains. Right now, that 5,000 credits is worth more than both our lives. So come on, dig deep. What do we got? His range and ammunition is limited. We could retaliate with our own if we... Finally, a good idea. That bonehead can't possibly be harder to crack than an Orb Mother. Check it. No, we need to... No matter. We will learn. As far as acquisitions go, Necramechs are famously a slog to get. I've had one Necramech, the Voidrig, since the Heart of Deimos update came out, but for this video, I decided to bite the bullet and farm for the only other Necramech in the game barring obscure lore entries, the Bone Widow. Hell. It was hell. Necramechs are built in a similar fashion to Warframes, with the completed mech being crafted from various components, which they themselves have to be crafted from blueprints bought from the Necroloid Syndicate. The Voidrig, clearly being the starter Necramech, is relatively easy to obtain, being built from materials discovered on Deimos, and its parts bought from the lower tiers of the Syndicate. The Bone Widow, meanwhile, is an absolute vibe check to anyone who might be slacking on any of their open world Syndicate standings. Resources from Deimos, Earth, and Venus are all required to build it, and you need max rank with the Necroloids to get the blueprint, but hey, at least there's no RNG involved, right? So that covers how to get the Necramechs, but what do they actually do? Necramechs are very similar to Warframes, with a few things removed and some features added. Despite having no passive and drastically reduced movement options, Necramechs do have the ability to freely hover in the air, can quick melee for pittances of damage, and have a unique slide movement option that also deals said pittance of damage. Interestingly enough, Necramechs still use stamina, but it's called their engine capacity. This is used for sprinting, sliding, and hovering, so like, and keep an eye on that. It's a bad look to be spamming the shift key over and over again, wondering why your robot's just stuttering along. Necramechs also have their own bespoke mod setup, but unlike Arcwings or K-Drives, have a unique modding board with 12 mod slots to fill. To counteract this massive increase in required mod capacity, Necramechs function like lich weapons, where every forma applied to them, up to 5, increases their max rank by 2, meaning an eventual max mod capacity of 80, which is just about enough to fit a full board of mods on these things. None of the mods really stand out particularly. Basically, all of them are just Necramech variations on Warframe mods, down to even the name. All of them can be bought from the Necraloids or that fucking bird that I hate. Love. Just kind of throw on whatever you got, and most importantly, follow your heart. That's how the greatest modding setups come to be. Starting with the Voidrig, this is your go-to Necramech, and what I assume 90% of Warframe players have crafted and partially modded in their arsenal. This mech is more well-rounded than its sister. Is it even possible to be well-rounded when there's only one point of comparison? The Voidrig focuses on shielding and area denial. Its first ability is Necroweb, a 2-in-1 explosion ability that equips a small canister that can either be smashed on the floor to create a slowing field, or shot mid-air to deal a very mid amount of damage. Second up is Storm Shroud, which is essentially Necramech Iron Skin that creates a barrier that scales off of all damage taken in a short period after activation. It also has the added effect of reflecting melee damage as a bolt of electricity. Voidrig's third ability is Grave Mines, an ability that, to the surprise of nobody, shoots out many, many mines, which can be good for crowd control so long as you remember to give your mech a little spin to properly distribute your bombs. Lastly is Guard Mode, the #1 reason to use the Voidrig, and probably also Necramechs in general. This thing is a straight-up exalted arc gun mortar that puts out absolutely absurd damage numbers in a massive area. Like, actually, this thing might be one of the strongest weapons in the entire game. There's also the Bone Widow, the freak pick of the Necramechs for previously mentioned resource-related reasons, as well as having a more specialized playstyle that focuses on in-your-face melee trauma and choke-slamming enemies. No surprise then that it's canonically based off of Mother. Bone Widow's abilities all revolve around melee combat. Meat Hook is essentially a Warframe command grab that will grapple any target not immune to CC and drain their max health, healing you for a percentage of the damage. Shield Maiden is also a Necramech Iron Skin ability, and it being in the same ability slot as Storm Shroud leads me to believe that this could be a constant feature for all Necramechs. The shield only blocks frontal damage, but as a trade-off, ranged attacks are bounced back at their attackers, and you can shield bash enemies to momentarily lift them. Firing Line is a CC move that attempts to move all enemies near you directly in front of you. This goes about as well as you can expect. God, dude. What's not to love about Exalted Iron Bride? It vomits damage, it fires a projectile on heavy attack, and its damage is added to the Necramech's innate slide, which can lead to some absolutely disrespectful drive-bys. Yeah, no notes. Sentry Mode might be brutally efficient, but Exalted Iron Bride is fun, and also still very, very good. Alright, LARPer. Chew on this. Oh. We should be thankful. It appears his mech is a Bone Widow model. If it were a Voidrig, our predicament would be much worse. How is that supposed to... This still sucks so much. Enough games. Your time is nigh, brigands. Run and hide? Run and hide. So yeah, all that to say, I got both mechs, built both of them out, and I gotta say, I prefer Bone Widow. But if you're only gonna get one mech, it should probably be the one that's easier to obtain and more universally effective, and probably most importantly, the easiest to level, thanks to the kills per minute provided by Sentry Mode. You see, leveling stuff normally in Warframe is pretty easy. You take your weapon, Warframe, companion, whatever, into Elite Sanctuary Onslaught, Hydron, or one of several other missions that can cram a ton of enemies into a very tight space to maximize your EXP gains. You can't take mechs into these levels though, none of them. So this means we need to find newer, worse methods for leveling in areas where you actually can take Necramechs. I think the best place to level mechs would be Thermia Fractures in the Orb Valis. They've got high enemy density, last for several minutes if you do them right, and you can run them in Steel Path for more enemies. Just make sure to check the periphery for high-level enemies that can one-shot your Thermia canister and ruin your life harder than my latest parlay. But since Thermia Fractures are only around some of the time, I had to jump over to Voidstorm survival missions to finish maxing out my mechs. Was this fast? Not really, but it's the best option I kinda had. Also, while doing this, you passively farm Void Relic drops, Void Traces, and Hollow Keys, so it's not too bad of a gig, just have at least 12 hours of podcast ready to go. So, you've got it. The Necramech that most strongly aligns with your Zodiac sign, a full suite of mods to take you from gun tank to Gundam unicorn, and a maxed out arc gun that can spew a torrent of lead. Probably. What's the plan now? Yeah, so I kind of touched on this in the leveling portion, but there are just a lot of places Necramechs are just not allowed into. I guess open worlds are the best and most consistent place you can make your Titan fall, but I mean, if you're at the point where you're crafting a Necramech, you might be past needing to grind open worlds. There are also several missions where Necramechs can be deployed by meeting certain criteria. In any Intrati lab mission, you may stumble upon a Palm 2 console that, when hacked, dispenses your Necramech. Just make sure not to skimp on your Shield Maiden, because if your mech explodes, you have to find a new terminal, and these things piss me off. How is it so hard to find computer? I thought this was all my generation was good at. There's also an edge case where in Temporal Archimedia, if you're lucky with your sticker packs, you can get the mission modifier Vintage Tech, which will let you summon your Necramech on a 3 to 1 minute cooldown in one of your 3 missions. But now we're at like enemies that range in level from 350 to over 500. At high levels, Necramechs fall into the same pitfalls as every other health and armor-based Warframe of just shattering the moment a single bullet touches their health bar, but hey, the tiniest bit of anything helps in Archimedia, right? There's also Empyrean. Okay, to be charitable for a second, this is probably the place where Necramechs are gonna get the most use. They can be deployed on a ridiculously short cooldown, enemy damage isn't high enough to immediately crumple them, and there is one mission type where a good Necramech is actively required: Orphix. Orphix is a game mode based on the past event Operation Orphix Venom, in which you need to board a ship and move around quickly destroying several titular Orphixes, structures which disable nearby Warframes. The Orphix's orifices are ordinarily invulnerable, but organizing and destroying the nearby Orphix resonators will make the main body vulnerable. The mission tasks you with destroying Orphixes as they pop up, which happens at a faster pace as the mission goes on. For your troubles, you can be rewarded with arcanes from the Plains of Eidolon drop tables, making Orphix missions a viable alternative to Eidolon hunting. So now we come to the point where we can ask the question, are Necramechs worth not just getting, but leveling, spending rep on mods and everything, all to max them out? Hell no! Necramechs have a very, very appealing concept. Giant robots are very cool. To their detriment, however, Necramechs are by design weaker than Warframes. This is the same problem that arc guns have, where a lack of any of the modern conveniences granted to the rest of our arsenal, like arcanes and galvanized mods, combined with shaky defenses, means that in current day content, Necramechs just can't keep up. The one exception to this rule are each mech's incredibly powerful exalted weapons, but those really only perform at level with most of the average high-level player's loadout at this point. Even if Necramechs were allowed in every single mission type in the game, they would still go unused. They're too difficult to get and build out for newer players who could actually do with a chunky robot that uses a big weapon, and older players are just going to use their Revenant with a Tord Incarnate that just straight up outpaces anything the Boneheads bring to the table. I've figured it out. He is old-fashioned. I mean, clearly, you see the way that guy talks? No. His equipment, his loadout, they're all at least 5 years old. Great, so he's a fan of the classics. That helps us how, exactly? Warfare has evolved significantly since then. What do you say we give him a little demonstration? God, for a guy with such a small head, you are really smart sometimes. I think the big problem here is that Necramechs were designed for a future of Warframe that did not come to be. At the release of the Heart of Deimos update, when the Voidrig was first introduced, Steel Path did not exist. Galvanized mods and weapon arcanes did not exist. The toughest challenges beyond endless content were the enemies encountered on the Cambion Drift, incredibly bulky infested enemies that shrugged off typical Warframe small arms fire and could obliterate your average frame with high damage that went through shields. The Necramechs were made to decimate in this open world, being tanky enough to deal with the infested and having such high damage that they could just chunk through all that armor. This was a glimpse into a different path of Warframe than the one we ended up on. One where perhaps individual Warframes and weapons were weaker, incentivizing the use of arc guns, Empyrean features, and Necramechs. If you're like me, you probably physically negatively reacted to that idea. But I think we have the benefit of a lot of hindsight here. Warframe is in possibly the best state it's ever been in, and that has come from DE locking down and focusing on the gameplay that works. That being warframes and weapons. This has created an incredibly healthy late game that sits at the end of a path winding through a bombed out junkyard of old concepts that I really hope will get touched on at a later date. I think I ended this video on a bit of a negative note, which is by no means because I hate Necramechs. I think, on the contrary, I've grown really attached to these two boneheads while I've been leveling them and maxing them out. And the fact that there's really not much to do with them now, once you've finished building them, besides a once-in-a-while surprise appearance, just rubs me the wrong way. I guess it's the same feeling I have about Arcwing or Railjack. I want to interface with these systems more, but there's really just nothing left to do with them in the current state of the game. But I mean, come on, we're going to Tau, right? We'll be in space, so we can use Railjack. And the Sentients are, through lore, now able to remotely shut down Warframes. So I choose to believe that Necramechs will make a comeback. I mean, they have to, right? Because if it's not at Tau, I think we really will never see content for these systems again. So, like, positive manifestations for TennoCon 2025. At last, thou hast deigned to stop fleeing. Such a pathetic display is embarrassing for the both of us. Oh, I wouldn't say running. Just, getting you into a prime position. What? I said a prime position. What matter of trickery is this? Why my screen all weird? Oh great, you finally dropped the fake accent. Hey, let me clue you in, pal. The frame of war has changed. Say hello to Multiplicative Gunco. You idiot. You may have depleted my royal guard, but I'll simply charge it up again with all the damage you're dealing and... Ah. You know, it's actually insane how you punched him so hard he left that cartoon hole in a mountain. Simply the results of training and meditation. You know, fair enough. Maybe I should try that meditation stuff sometime. No, you shouldn't. It wouldn't work on you. Ah, all's well that ends well, right? I mean, hey, with these credits, we can finally stop our dojo from getting foreclosed. I'd say things are looking up.